Hello, everyone, and welcome to GameXX 2024 Summit. I am Nehal Shukla, your host for the day. The theme for GameXX is Beyond Entertainment, Gaming's Role in Shaping Digital Culture. The topic for the day is the rise of influencers in gaming, navigating the new landscape. To moderate this session, we have Mr. Sandeep Suvarna, who is the ex-CMO Asia Pacific, Twitch, LinkedIn. Joining him are Soham Thacker, founder and CEO of Gamerji, and Sumedha Mahajan, who is the head of marketing India for Ampers DMI. Welcome you all. Mr. Sandeep, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to discuss the fascinating and rapidly evolving world of gaming and influencers. With this esteemed set of panelists, we got Soham and Sumedha joining us today. Um, just a quick preamble before we jump into the panel. As someone who's been deeply involved in the growth of gaming community for a long time, I used to lead marketing at Twitch before this, where I ran marketing for Twitch for all countries outside the US and managed over 8 million influencers and around 250 million viewers who used to come onto the Twitch platform every month. I've seen that space evolve pretty much rapidly across all different aspects. Um, just for some context, like in 2023, the global gaming population crossed about 3 billion users for the first time. And when we look at the modern gamer, they're not just a player anymore. These folks actively participate in like online communities, interact with creators and influencers across a range of social media sites. And that shift has given rise to what we now have called a gaming influencer, which is what this panel is going to be discussing today. We're going to be covering a couple of areas, a little bit around the evolution of the gaming influencer, a little bit around how influencers and brands collaborate with each other, and some insights that we can get through Soham and Sumedha, as well as I would love to hear the take on how AI is doing in this space. I mean, it's a hot buzzword. I'm pretty sure you guys are thinking about it as well, and you're seeing the impact of that. So, without any further ado, I would move to our panelists to get started. My first question to both you folks is I would love to hear couple of trends and insights that have come within this space over the last, say, 12 to 18 months. And maybe Soham, you can kick us off and then I'll hand it over to Sumedha.
Thanks, Sandeep, for the lovely introduction, and glad to connect. Like rightly pointed, obviously, influencers, or ideally, the gaming industry now, obviously, not a subset of entertainment anymore, which once upon a time it used to be, right? So that is the evolution that has happened in the last, so to say, about 15 years or so. So obviously, starting from the West and Southeast Asia, and then moving on to the other parts of the world. But content creation is something which really kicked off in the last decade, where initially, obviously, like you rightly pointed, it started from the likes of Twitch and and YouTube gaming, kind of being the pioneers of content creation. But along with that, we also saw a lot of evolution happen, especially in competitive gaming, which enhanced, so to say, the content quality itself. Rather than gamers just coming and just creating, entertainment value, it also started creating a lot of tips and tricks, and also a lot of skill value out of gaming, so to say, streams as well as content as well. So that is definitely an evolution that we have seen. And now, obviously, with the technology that we have, and also the accessories that are given or are provided to the influencers, it's literally, you can say, it's as parallel to watching a television or a movie.
I completely agree. I think the quality definitely has improved. The quality, even the production value of how things are done are completely changed over time. Subeda, from your standpoint, like on Ampverse, you guys work with a lot of influencers from gaming marketing standpoint or using gaming influencers for marketing. Would love to hear, like, are there a couple of trends that stand out from your standpoint, like in the last, say, 12 to 18 months?
Absolutely. I think very relevant question. First of all, I think I am personally a big believer in content and community, right? content, community, and creators are the 3 C's I always see. Will see the trend of marketing changing, right? Now, what I'm seeing is let's say a collaboration of all three coming together. So it's not just creation. It's not just a face coming and saying, hey, XYZ, buy this. It's also what kind of content they are creating to do that, and how are they leveraging the community. So for example, every platform, Instagram now has broadcast channels, right? We're seeing a lot of trend there. You have subscriber only content now, right? So I see a lot of collaboration, lot of trends coming in that area. It's like what kind of reels are performing. If you see, it's not just branded content directly plugged in that's performing. Personally, what we've seen at Amphos also is that a lot of content that's organically placed, or just fun content that's behind the scene that gets people to know them. If you look at Gen Z and Gen Alpha today, right, Sandeep, like it's not how it was with millennials, right? And whatever I've seen in my career as well, they are very, very smart with respect to what is paid. They're very smart, and they acknowledge it. But their focus span is lesser, but they also want very regular content. It doesn't have to be perfect when short, right? But it has to talk to them. So it has to be trending, the content, the language, the slangs, the song. So the production value could be something you shot while you're in a cab, for all you say. Like you could just be looking at the camera. But if it's something, your take on something fun that's happening, let's say Coldplay tickets, and somehow you've been able to plug your brand there, right? While talking about trends, that is something that will work. That's something we've been seeing for the last 1 year while working with influencers. So we are very particular while creating scripts. It's something that talks to them while like pushing them too much.
Right. So is it fair, Sumedha, to say it needs to be fun and entertaining, but at the same time it needs to be authentic as well? Like it can't sound fake, because that's what kills it completely.
Yeah, it needs to be fun. Absolutely. You're 100% correct. And authentic can't sound fake. It needs to grab the attention, the right words. We have seen that the first 3 seconds are very important. So how the thumbnail is, what is the language using, what is the caption? Are you using the current slang versus what are you using millennial slangs, right? Are you using the right kind of words? So I think all of those are very important. But you're right, fun, authentic, but not you know not too like fun, but like also authentic.
Fun and authentic, right? On that note, because I remember reading some data around this where the Gen Z today, when they look at a product that's been pushed by celebrities,
They
the
don't.
purchasing intent is super low, but it's very, very high when it comes to influencers, right? And so when you guys in India see a lot of lifestyle creators now trying to be gamers, like people who are earlier fashion bloggers, earlier actors, and so on and so forth, what's the view on that? Like, what do you guys think about that? Like, is that something that makes sense, or the community smells that as being inauthentic and they're like, yeah, this is not going to work?
I think honestly, it also within the industry, I think it varies from industry to industry, in my opinion, from what
Right.
I've seen. But I think within the industry, I won't say inauthentic, but I like what I said earlier, right? I think there is a very strong trend of not directly collaborating to just sell something, right?
Mhm.
It's more, how do you become the face of my brand? How do you talk about my brand without talking about it, right? So when we come to gaming, right, it could be just, I don't know, it could just be doing events together, like community stuff together, right? You would see that it's not a direct collab in the sense it used to happen 5 years ago with celebrities, right? We want them to talk in the way they talk, just bring in the content, even if it's for the last 5 seconds. It's not a 10-20 second TV ad the way it used to be earlier with celebrities, right? So I
Right.
think that one thing that we've like personally seen changing. It could from a format point of view also, it's changed a lot, right? There's a lot of thought that
Right.
whatever it's like, it comes, there's a lot of reliance on what the influencer or what the person in question, ambassador, wants to do, what platform, what language, what tonality they prefer versus you pushing, right? Because this is something that has changed, because like I said, it has to be authentic. So I think again
Mhm.
that is there. But Soham, if you have something also to add.
I sort of say have a contrast opinion on that, to be honest. Gamers in per se are first the fan of the game and then the fan
Mhm.
of the content,
Mhm.
right? So, and the skills, especially when, so there are two ways of streaming. One is entertainment gaming streaming, in which you're just capturing the funny moments. In
Right.
fact, you're playing so horribly that people want to watch you play horribly. And then there
Right.
is the professional content where you're actually either representing a team, or either you are a part of a professional circuit, and you are actually showcasing your skill as
Mhm.
a streamer or an influencer, whether it be you showcasing yourself, or whether it be a third party stream running the tournament. But
Mhm.
I so the audience for those are, though they have a little bit of overlap, are very different. When
Mhm.
when you talk about people who actually want to watch game streams, they focus on the professionals playing it.
Mhm.
Then in that particular array, a celebrity coming in and just trying to become a gamer does not suffice.
Right.
In fact, it goes into the other extreme, where it is so funny that
Mm.
they tend to get engagement, but it's not a gaming engagement, it's more like an entertainment engagement, right? So that is
Right.
that is and especially we had a great reality check in during and post COVID era, where
Mhm.
during
Mhm.
COVID you saw literally everyone wanting to be an influencer, and post COVID era, the
Yep.
way the numbers kind of literally fell to the ground. So many influencers had a reality check, especially
Right.
the ones whose content, like what you just mentioned, were either fake, not up to the mark, or
Mhm.
self-proclaimed influencers, so to say. So
Mhm.
that reality check has brought it now, that either you create genuine content,
Mhm.
either you are really good at your gameplay and you have the game fans follow you, or you just stick with your entertainment content and don't involve it with gaming. So that is
Right.
my opinion on it.
I think
Which is
I
fair.
that. I think 100, just wanted to add one part there.
Sure.
I think 100% agree. I think not just in gaming, otherwise also, I do have a very counterintuitive opinion that not only is content increasing, but it also is facing saturation. What that means
Mm.
is, while everyone's trying to do it, I still think it's gonna rise. But the thing is, now people are more choosy about what they consume, which is why if you see paid content is also a thing, right? People are paying for content, right? Specific subscriber only content. So 100% with Soham on that. And I do think it's also the use case, like his, right? What are you actually looking for pro gaming streams, right? Versus looking for fun entertainment content, which could be fun watch plays, right? People do it all the time, which could be towards casual gaming to
Right.
competitive
Right.
competitive esports. Yeah.
So on that point, I mean, I'm curious. Like in Gamerji, you guys focus a lot on like online esports, and so I'm guessing over a period of time, a bunch of these unknown creators start becoming known. Have you seen a trend among them of what paths do they want to pursue? Like, is it the skill-based path, like you mentioned, or is it more the entertainment path, or it's a mix?
See, especially on Gamerji, we are a tournament platform. So ideally speaking, the gamers come on the platform to compete, right? So their
Hmm.
always focus is always going to be towards the gameplay and not towards
Skill. Hmm.
the skill. Their always focus is going to be skill and not ideally content that is generated out of it.
Right.
However, we do work also very closely with content creators who create entertainment content as well, because as a you know as a large audience that we have, if you look at a spectrum, you have amateur players who want to see other amateur players and laugh at it together, and then
Right.
you obviously also have a segment of them who actually want to pursue gaming, or really want to know, just even have bragging rights. They are
Right.
so focused on the skill element of it, right? So but I still at least on my experience, most of the people that we have on the platform are predominantly there to showcase their skill or enhance their skill, but we're not a content driven platform, so to say. So it's hard to say that how many content creators kind of pop out of there.
Out of this. Out of this. Switching gears, because I know we have like limited time and there's a bunch of good things to cover. So, Sumedha, I'm curious from your experience, because you do a lot of work, or Ampus does a lot of work with creators, collaborations with brands, organizing like events and so on and so forth, right? So I'm curious, like when you look at that ecosystem today, what in your mind are the top challenges, both from the brand side as well as the creator side, as well as for Ampverse to connect the two to create truly valuable collaborations?
I think from the brand side, the first thing is solely speaking from a marketing point of view as well and as business point of view. I think one is understanding how do you measure the success of these collaborations, right? Content specifically, and I think like Soham would also agree, right, is hard to measure in that sense. There are things especially with marketers, there's a gut that you develop with these things, right?
Right.
But they may not have an immediate impact that you can showcase. It's not like performance marketing. You can, of course, today we track a lot of things. There are link in bios, there are story swipe ups. So there are certain factors, but in general, when you collaborate offline, event, larger content pieces, hard to quantify it, which is why I think quantifying is not equal to measuring. You need to have the right metrics to say, is it done for social media engagement? Is it done to drive YouTube subscriber? Is it done to drive engagement? Are you seeing those spikes? So I think that allocation and attribution, especially when you have other channels of marketing also active, is slightly hard even today. And which is why I see a lot of analytical tools coming around the whole influencer and content creator commerce bit. So that is one brand challenge I definitely see. Second is aligning what kind of content would work, which in my opinion is a bit of hit and trial till you've worked with certain kind of influencers and tried different formats with them, right? Something that may work for one may not work for other, which means your production, your content has to be, your distribution needs to be work. You can't just create one piece and then give it to 6 people. May not work for the audience. So are you going to produce 6 different pieces of content? Or are you going to ask them to post it 6 times, hypothetically saying, or 3 times across the two channels or 2 platforms? But what works on YouTube doesn't work on Instagram. So I think that's one challenge because of this content ecosystem becoming so big. How do you filter your voice from the noise everywhere? Okay, that's second. From, I would say, you asked influencer point, like from their end as well. From there, I think it's also how do you, in my opinion, how do you not let creative fatigue set in? Every day you're doing it, or like alternate or whatever. Aap kisi, like for one brand or some other brand or some game, or how do you be make it relatable, but not make it like, oh, again the same thing, right? But also don't lose your tonality, because not just gaming, look at influencers outside or content creators. There's a certain way. Some are funny, some are more like informational, some are way to the point, some will use humor. So it should not become boring, but people should still want to see the next one because it's still fun. So I think that fatigue setting in, I have a lot of respect for that you have to work on that, right? And of course, getting the entire aesthetics of it right. I think that is
And be
also
authentic as well while doing it, because you can't lose your authenticity as well. Yeah.
as discussed, right? And then, of course, time, right? Today, it's not just about production value. It's a lot about versus early times, right? If you're not doing like today, of course, if you're doing a TV ad shot and a full production, that's different. But we have self-shot videos, we have self-shot reels, right? Maintaining that hygiene while, because there's so much content coming out every day. Every time you're not going to book a studio and shoot content, right? So I think for them also, turn out that content while understanding the dynamics of the platform and aesthetics of what they want to give, and ensuring that the brand values that the brand brief has met is, I'm sure, a challenge as well.
Excellent. Soham, your views on this brand challenges for the brand and challenges for the influencer?
You know, there are a couple of things I would like to add. One from a challenge from an influencer standpoint is like we discussed earlier as well, is the engagement level of the content, and ideally the authenticity of the content also, that and the demands of the brands, where there is constant comparison being made with performance-based marketing and influencer marketing, right? As a brand, you need to understand that when you do influencer marketing, you cannot just directly put KPIs to it, right? You can just not say that, for example, if we are doing a campaign with an influencer just to acquire customers or users for our platform, I'm not going to put that I spent X amount with an influencer and I minimum require this many downloads to come from the link that he posted on his description or his chat, right? So that creates an added pressure for the influencer to talk more about the brand rather than uh, focusing on what the quality of his actual content should be. And what that does is that creates a detrimental effect for not only his channel and him, but also for the brand itself. Because
Mm-hmm.
neither is the brand going to get engagement because the
Yep.
influencer's content was boring,
Mm-hmm.
or the influencer's channel is dying down because he is so pressured to deliver the KPIs rather than focusing on what his content quality should be, right? So that is one challenge that influencers face. And then from a brand standpoint also, you have to be honest, it is very difficult to gauge the quality of the audience delivered by an influencer,
Mm-hmm.
right? While the masses are always going to be there, you're going to look at a few million views and a few 100,000 down engagements, but at the end the quality of the audience is very difficult to gauge
Absolutely.
from a brand standpoint. Like whether what does a brand look for? Brand looks for a quality audience that is, one, obviously predominant KPI is going to come and purchase. Second,
Mm-hmm.
it's they are going to retain, and third, they are going to spread the word. you know are is the It's very difficult to gauge from an influencer's audience of whether his numbers are credible enough or they are just the masses.
Right.
So it's a challenge on both the sides.
Mm.
But I think somewhere, as the influencer marketing industry keeps evolving, this challenge is that the bridge or the understanding between a brand and an influencer will start closing it, and that will eventually become a good marketing strategy for both, going forward.
On that note, and great points, by the way, guys. I love it. I mean, I think if I'm recapping it from the brand side, there is a challenge of measurement. There's a challenge of understanding the quality of the audience viewed, like you mentioned, Soham. Sumedha, you mentioned about brand. There's also, from what I gather from both of you, there's this expectation mismanagement that happens. Like a brand is expecting too much of the influencer doesn't want to do that, and somewhere the quality compromise happens in that workflow. I'm curious, like when you look at if gaming influencers had to become mainstream marketing, right? Besides these, do you think there is also a little bit of hesitancy around investing in games from brands because they find it a little too unorganized a sector as compared to, say, or they're all the brands are like more than happy to be a part of gaming? Like, is there, because I see a lot of brands tend to be more young age, like the newer age brands. I'm wondering if like the old school brands are also equally interested, or they're just like testing the waters but not really like diving in. So I'm just curious to hear from you guys about that.
So I think personally, I think we are a very new age brand and targeted to Gen Z and all. But I think from my general understanding of the industry and what I see across, I think everyone wants a bite of this pie. The reason being, I mean, at least for India, I'll say, right? Uh, the idea is with so many gamers and so much content being consumed, right? Everyone knows that if not today, 5 years later, this is my target audience. I mean, assuming we're talking about brands outside gaming, right? If it's a FMCG brand, if it's a FMCD brand, if it's a certain retail brand, they know that the paying customer is this only. Whoever is watching the content today, even
Right.
if that 20 today would be 25 tomorrow, would be 26 tomorrow. The way they may engage would be different. I agree. But look at, there's so many brands, right? They're coming out with content around this. There are series, the major OTT platforms have content around gaming. At Amphers, we have so many sponsors, like TVS is one of our co-presenting sponsor, right? We have Sony, right? So we have Nissan. So these are all big brands, right? And these are all established brands. So they understand that the way to connect with the audience today, who's going to be the purchasing customer, is through these things, pop culture, gaming. I think there's a lot of validation when it look at awards being announced for influencers and content creators, right, at a government level. That is actually which used to happen for film stars, and
That's a good point. Yeah.
so that actually validates that this is something that the youth is looking at. And when we are validating that, which we always say in marketing, right, be where your customer is, and if your customer is here, then you need to be here. right? So I think 100%, I feel that especially with 500 million gamers in India, right? Of course, from casual to competitive, and I think
Right.
almost 40-50% of them are below 34, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I think everyone knows that the next 10 years belong to this segment. And that's in general, that's the way economy is growing, right? Betting on this segment. So I think 100%, I believe that every segment of brand is interacting. Intensity of interaction, the nature of interaction, the way they're interacting and the extent of interaction may be varying right now. But
Right.
100%, I don't think there's anyone who would say that this is not something we would want to invest in or we're not looking to invest in. We're not looking to invest in.
Got it. Um, I'll switch because I know we are going to run short of time, so I'm just going to switch to our last topic before we wrap this up. I'm curious about, and Soham, maybe we start with you on this. Like, when you look at the role of AI, especially in esports, right? Because that's pretty much your bread and butter. Most of your bread and butter comes from there, I guess. How do you look at its current role, and what do you see AI potentially either disrupting or helping in?
Oh, absolutely. And we we have already started heavily working towards and investing towards AI, especially when it comes to esports. I mean, there are multiple elements where AI plays a very critical role. I mean, the obvious ones would be, game discovery,
Right.
followed by, skill enhancement, where obviously AI would help you based on your gameplay and the data that is collected from your gameplay to enhance your skills. The third element where AI becomes very, very critical is matchmaking. Having ideal, similar skilled players playing against each other. Obviously, you don't want, especially in a tournament, you don't want to see a pro with an amateur where it's
Right.
an obvious outcome, right? So, matchmaking becomes, especially in virtual tournaments, AI plays a very important role in impersonation, where ideally speaking, if you are impersonating a pro player is impersonating as an amateur
Right.
and winning leagues, his gameplay analysis, using AI helps us determine whether this person was actually that level which he, so to say, vouched that he was. And then last but not the least is anti cheats, where teaming up activities or hacking activities or and especially in virtual gaming scenarios there are a lot of malicious activities that can happen, and obviously AI plays a very critical role in making sure that this, maybe if not completely eradicated, can at least be reduced to a considerable extent. So
Right.
that is different use cases of AI, which especially enhances the esports industry above and beyond just conventional gaming, where obviously you have bots and AIs to help, with the gameplay itself or developing even a game. But in esports, these are the use cases that I perceive to be red hot in the next few years.
Amazing. Sumedha, from your point of view, when you look at the marketing side and working with brands, like, is there a role that AI either plays today or you expect to play?
I do. I think the authenticity, I personally believe in authenticity of the human touch. I think that is going to stay, right? But I do believe, like Soham also said, right? Like, I think a lot of trends from marketing point of view, for example, there are certain places, there are certain products, like, can you replicate the same thing? Let's say you, like I was talking about distribution, right? I would still think that the lead might come from actual influencers and human influencers. I don't know how else to put it, human influencers. But it is possible that when you want something, that's, you want to be 10 places at the same time and you can't be, right? Maybe that's the place I see AI coming in. I see AI when India's like first AI Nana or something, right? I saw like one winning awards at multiple places. I do see the process of distribution being solved through that. That is one. I also feel for products, like for repetitive content, probably not for emotional appeal, not for exactly brand connects. But I think for probably something that's a little more transactional, that's a little more informational rather than, let's say, entertainment. I could be wrong on this, on it, because it's a, maybe it's, but I feel like personally, I feel it might work more for informational. I do see that trend.
Right.
So see, it's not just front end, it's also the back end. I do see them being used to, AI being used as a tool to understand what is working with the audience across. And I'm seeing this both at the brand end and at the consumer end. I know this is not an AI influencer we're talking about, but I see influencers using AI for the challenges that we spoke, right? Tapping in to see
Right.
what is. I also think this could be a good trial strategy to go first with them and see how the audience is responding. Maybe have a test page. I don't know. Maybe every influencer is a test AI, so to say. You like
Mhm.
go to the market first with it and see what kind of content. Or maybe I want to be an influencer today. And I first try out things before even revealing my face or revealing who I am. So to know what, let's say, is the funny market saturated? Is the informational market saturated? Is it the 10-second thing I should do? So I think there are ways. Script point of view, I think I see them being used. Maybe understanding and picking up keywords from the last 5 reels and then using that, right? So I do see trends, but I don't see it being replaced directly with human influencers personally.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. I think we're on time. So by the way, thank you, Sumedha, Soham. This was very
Lovely.
insightful for me, and I'm hoping our audiences liked it as well. I'll just quickly recap what we've heard. So if somebody wants to know the 10-second version, they can watch this part of the video. I think when it comes to the shifted influences, what you guys said is being fun or skilled, depending on who you are, is important, but being authentic is equally important. So that's absolutely key if somebody is trying to become an influencer in the next 6 to 12 months. Those are things that they need to remember. On the monetization side, clearly on the influencer piece, influencer challenge, there's a lot of like expectation mismanagement, what influencers can do and what brands want from them. And fixing that is probably somebody could make a lot of money doing that. I guess on the brand side, like both of you folks mentioned, it's about measurement, it's about the quality of audience viewed, and we don't really have the data at this point of time. So being able to fix that probably is the solution going forward. On AI, I hear there's a lot of positive views, there's a lot of potential options, there's a lot of work that can be done, largely around gameplay simulation, better matching, be it with on the esports side or even on the ad collaboration side, and obviously optimizing a bunch of gaps like Sumedha you mentioned around content and improving the quality of content and speed of content. So I guess like that kind of encompasses everything. And thank you both for your time, and thanks for an insightful session.
Thank you so much, Sandeep, for having us here, and it was a pleasure.
Yes.
Absolute
Same.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Soham, for
Thank you
being a
very
lovely.
much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for really insightful questions.
Thank you, everyone. This was really amazing, and I'm sure that our viewers might have taken a lot of insights from this discussion.